Hey everyone, it's Mr. Wilson here to talk about checkpoint list step 3, which is read and highlight the articles that you have found and printed. Okay, first of all, obviously if you have a book or a magazine, an actual hard magazine that does not belong to you, you're not going to be able to highlight in that. So you're just going to have to take notes. But if you've printed it out like we've got here, like we did last time, you're going to be able to highlight it, and it should look like this, roughly like this. Okay, you can use a highlighter like this one. If you don't have a highlighter, you can underline. A lot of students will say to me, I couldn't do this because I didn't have a highlighter. First of all, I have some in class. You can borrow mine, but you can't take them home. But if you're at home and you don't have a highlighter, underline. Okay, so that's basically what it should look like. You don't have to have tons of stuff highlighted, but then again, you shouldn't have almost nothing highlighted. But you should definitely not highlight randomly. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of what to highlight by actually doing it digitally, because that's another thing I'd like to show you. So we're going to take this article, the one that I highlighted this one. This is my second article. I highlighted it analog, and I'm going to highlight this one digitally. This is my first article. So if we have this version of Word, they're all a little bit different. But if I go up to View and get my formatting palette, that's going to give me my formatting palette. And this right here is my highlighting tool. Sometimes the default will be set to none. So if you look at this and you've got it set to none and you go and highlight something and nothing happens, well, that's because you have your highlighting set to none. So set it to yellow. Don't set it to any other funky color. Yellow is what normally people use, so set it to yellow. And once it's set, you're just going to read your document and highlight the important parts, what you think you will include in your biography. So I'm going to do that just for the first little bit. Garrett Morgan, let's see, is one of those rare people, blah, blah, blah. This I'm not going to use. Garrett Morgan was born on March 4th, 1877 in Paris, Kentucky, the 7th of 11th children. I will highlight this, okay, because that's pretty important, I'd say. Born to Sydney and Elizabeth Morgan, no, don't care that much about that. At the early age of 14, decided he should travel north to Ohio in order to receive a better education. Yep, I'm going to start here with age of 14. Traveled north to receive better education. That shows a certain strength of character. Imagine you guys are either 14 or close to it. Imagine if you guys decided that you needed to travel to Canada all on your own for your own good, away from your family on your own. That's pretty brave. So he moved to Cincinnati and Cleveland, working as a handyman, making his own meat. Cleveland. He learned the inner workings of the sewing machine, and in 1907 opened his own sewing machine store. I'm going to highlight that also, because that's basically the beginning of his being an inventor. He's got an inquisitive nature. He opens up a sewing machine, learns how it works, and opens his own shop. So that's pretty interesting. In 1908, Morgan married Mary Ann Hassick, with whom he would have 3 sons. No, that's not really that important to me, so I'm not going to highlight that. Okay, so I've just done this first paragraph. Now I'm going to do the rest, and I will see you in just 1 second. Okay, so now I've highlighted this whole thing, and as you can see, I've highlighted a lot, but I mean, if we look at all the words in this article, I've highlighted maybe, I don't know, I would say 20% of the words. So I'm not highlighting huge chunks. I'm only highlighting little teeny pieces of information. Some students highlight not enough, but more often students highlight too much. They'll take this paragraph here is all about his gas mask. And so they'll be like, oh, this is all about his gas mask, and I want to know all about that. There. And I'll highlight that whole thing. That's ridiculous, okay? I'm not going to want to include all that information. A lot of that information is stuff that I don't want about, another tube that existed, which allowed the breather to exhale out of the device. I don't need this information. In 1912, he developed another invention. He patented it as a breathing device. called it a safety hood. That's all I really need. That's all I'm going to use, I think. I'll still have this article if I want to look back at this information, but I think that's all I need. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, now that I've read all this information, I'm going to start to put it into my own words. Now, I'm not asking you to do this. You don't have to show it to me, but it might help you. What I've done is I've highlighted this first paragraph, and I copied and pasted everything from that first paragraph down here in the notes. So this is just, I would take everything that I highlighted and put it down in the notes, and then I would paraphrase it. So if we look at that first thing, born on March 4th, 1877 in Paris, Kentucky, the 7th of 11 children. That's right from the article. So I'm going to paraphrase that. So I'm going to put it in my own words. So instead of born on March 4th, 1877 in Paris, Kentucky, the 7th of 11 children, what I'm writing is, Morgan was born in Kentucky on March 4th, 1887, the 7th in a family of 11. Okay, so it's the same information. I've changed the words around so that they're my own words. I don't need to say Paris, Kentucky. He was born in Kentucky. I don't really care about Paris, Kentucky. That's not something that I really need to know. Sometimes you don't even need to have where and when the person was born. It's not really that as important as what that person did. But most people will include that. That's fine. All right, so that's how you highlight. And once you have that, the next thing you're going to be doing is filling out your biography pre-production sheet, which is probably going to include doing a little bit more research. And I'm going to have to do some research about the times that he lived in. Okay, when did he invent all this stuff, and how did it affect our society? And I'm going to need to do some more research besides just these two articles in order to do that. We'll cover that in our next little tutorial. All right, see you, and good luck highlighting your articles.